morning. Hey, this is your host, Jeff Ski Kinsey. One of the founders. I've also got a co-founder who is also a founder. Okay, if two guys are doing all the work, in my world, they're both founders. Okay, but pet peeve. Hey, today I want to talk about a great line in a movie, an R-rated movie. Sorry, I won't tell you which one. But Patrick Swayze delivers this line. Deadpan, serious as a heart attack. He said, opinions vary. Okay, that's exactly right. But you know what also varies? Is your mind. Okay, when you say something or decide something or share something and you only have half the story or less than half the story, you are totally 100% allowed to change your mind. People hate that. People over the years have brought something up I said years ago and I said something recently different, maybe even 179 degrees opposite. Okay, maybe even 180. It's like, yep, guilty. Okay. I did not know something when I made that statement, which I now know. So I said all that to say that we get to change our minds. This episode of Fast Charge Energy, that's also our website, fastchargeenergy.com. This episode of the audio podcast is brought to you by Rhino Island Media. That also is the website, rhinoisland.media. This will be my 24th startup. It's actually a relaunch. I had and used and created some great content for Rhino Island a number of years ago. But I'm bringing it back to help advance the efforts of Fast Charge Energy. But I can get off on a tangent. So this morning, let's evolve our thinking around the idea that opinions vary. And as facts come to light, you are and should able to change your mind. So let me set the stage. And as a backdrop, this comes about as a conversation with a gentleman on Slack. Let's call him Tom. Okay? Fair enough. That might even be his name. So Slack, okay? I changed my opinion. When I first started using Slack many moons ago, I hated it. I thought this is not a good tool to get stuff done. Okay? By the way, Discord is the only thing I know that's worse. I mean, it is just horrid. Unless you're a gamer, then you love Discord. I mean, you can figure it out, you like it. But so back to Slack. So as things happen, I end up on two different projects, both of which are using Slack. And it's like, oh my God, this is the greatest thing since sliced bread. Now, how, in the matter of maybe days, probably weeks, how can I reverse my decision? Well, it's easy. Slack, and today, because I've used Slack so much over the years, today I'm a big fan of it for even single projects, which is kind of odd, but there's a way to use it I think makes a lot of sense, and it helps me. I still have a Slack account where, guess what? I'm the only person in it. Okay? It seems kind of weird, but it works for me on a lot of fronts. Okay? But what was the turning point for this reversal, this change of mind? Was the fact when I had to juggle stuff, okay? Time, okay? Two things. Change is the only constant. In time, we've got this small slice of time that we call a lifetime, but it's a small slice compared to the big scheme of things. And if you're not being effective with your time, you're going to waste a lot of money. Okay? Hopefully this is making some sense. So Tom and I are talking on Slack, and I questioned him, and I say, hey, he's a startup founder, among other things. And I says, well, what is it? How are you using your time? Okay. He'd made some statements about what he was doing and the startup and where he's at and some things he's done and tried. And so in this Slack, he mentioned some things. And so I reply, well, how are you using your time? Okay, I got to tell another story here. Okay, years ago, many moons ago, I learned the Pascal language. The first language I actually learned was an Intro to Computers course where I learned BASIC. But then I learned COBOL, I learned Fortran, and Kent State University at the Tuscarawas branch in New Philadelphia, Ohio, where I grew up, they offer this workshop. I think it was 2 hours, but don't quote me on that. This workshop on Pascal. I fell in love with Pascal. I wrote a lot of Pascal. I made a lot of money with Pascal programs. And they made this statement that I cannot understand to this day, because it wasn't worth me exploring. But they said, look, Pascal was written in Pascal. Say, what? How can you write anything? How can you it's like saying, hey, I wrote this article with a pen before articles existed. Huh? Say what? Okay. So I said all that to say time. Okay, time is what we call a construct. Okay, we want to try to explain the universe we live in. Is this making some sense? So we create a construct. We say, okay, given this, and I love the fact that they use that phrase in The Matrix. And by the way, I'm sorry I'm going a little long this morning. But so here's the thing about time. It's a construct, but you're going to have to use time if you want to manage time. Okay? It's both a framework and it's this construct to measure not just your life, but your ambitions. Okay? So if you cannot master, and that's a poor word choice that we all tend to use. If you cannot master your time, you're not going to be a master of very much. Time is this construct that every minute you invest in figuring it out, you're going to be that much further down the road. Okay? So with me so far, and I'm going to wrap this up by saying, okay, I apply focus. I learned through the work of the late Dr. Ellie Goldratt, I learned that focus is my superpower, and I can apply focus to a fault, and that's one of the things I have to watch. But by using time and a couple tools to allocate my time, to monitor my time, and make incorrect deviations in my time, I can get a lot done. And I have done a lot, not to brag, but I've made a lot of things happen. Okay, here's the end of the matter. I work with a number of engineers, some very smart people. And one engineer told me that in an introduction to a particular engineering class, the instructor said, okay, the first thing, what we call in the law of constraints, step 0. Okay, we had 5 steps Goldratt gave us, but now there's a step 0, and it's called define the system. Okay, that's number 1. And then that's going to be your focal point. So here's how time works. Okay, you have to define the system. Okay, and how do you do that? You have to have a dream. You have to have a vision, a goal. So let's say you want to launch a startup. Okay, that could mean a lot of things, but that's not a goal. Launch a startup. That's not a very good goal. In fact, Goldratt said, look, if you're in business to make money, the only goal for a for-profit business is to make money now and more in the future. So you need a vision statement, okay? You need to understand the culture. Is this making some sense? So let's say you have a goal of launching a startup to make money, and your vision or mission is to do so with a particular software solution, a SaaS, software as a solution, okay? Okay, you need a framework. You need a construct. And we'll continue this message tomorrow.